Taking shortcuts and sidestepping integrity can only take you so far. Whether it's creating an online presence for your B2B business, fine-tuning a management philosophy, or even sticking to a diet and workout routine, going against reality is not a good long-term strategy for success. In the TV miniseries Chernobyl, a lone scientist named Valery Legasov fights to understand why and how an RBMK nuclear reactor, a design deemed indestructible by the Soviet Union, exploded like an atomic bomb. Finding himself testifying before a grand central committee and all of his colleagues, Legasov does the unthinkable. He tells the truth of how the Soviet state hid a known design flaw in the reactor. Knowing that he's now a dead man, Legasov goes further. He calls out the whole social and political culture of his country, a system built mostly on lies, shortcuts, bribery, and nepotism. Before he's taken away, he takes a parting shot and says, "What is the cost of lies? It's not that we'll mistake them for the truth. The real danger is that if we hear enough lies, then we are no longer able to recognize the truth at all." That is a sound warning, and one that B2B companies should take to heart. While short-circuiting your brand identity probably won't, in most cases, cause a nuclear meltdown, there are real long-term consequences to plowing ahead without knowing what you're really about. In previous articles, we've covered the signs, science, and even pitfalls of arbitrary branding. Arbitrary branding, a brand identity, presence, and expression that's outdated, neglected, picked at random, invented ad hoc, or outright copied, means selling yourself and your customers short. Ultimately, it's making promises you won't be able to keep. It's presenting an image that doesn't reflect your core identity, and it's offering what you're not able to deliver. In the end, and even in the short term, arbitrary branding makes impressions that no B2B brand wants to make. It runs the risk of making others think that you are 1, being pretentious, 2, being random, 3, being deceptive, or even 4, being false. Of course, many companies that fall into artificial branding don't fall into these categories on purpose. Time shortages, competition, and other conflicts within the business can force companies to put something together at the drop of a hat, or to stick with something simply because some forgotten individual made the decision eons ago. We grant that poor, rushed branding decisions can be driven by doubt, skepticism, or frustration with the creative process. But whatever the reason, artificial branding means doing yourself a huge disservice. The hard, messy work of discovering and of telling the truth is what wins out, and it pays off in the end. G.K. Chesterton once said, "It is always simple to fall. There are an infinity of angles at which one falls, but only one at which one stands." As Chesterton points out in that quote, there's only one way of doing things right. Truthfulness is at the heart of authentic, effective, and winsome branding. While getting there can be tough, going with truth from the very start means you'll be able to communicate it downstream in all the avenues where your organization presents itself. As we've discussed, an organization can't spontaneously invent its core purpose as a company, make random choices about how it expresses itself as a brand, or create relationships with its customers out of nothing. While improvisation can be a great tool for discovering a brand story, improvisation is not a good navigator for trying to reach the destination of genuine branding. A brand story can never simply be dreamt up. It has to be truthful, not a fantasy. We wish these points were so painfully obvious that there was no reason to write a blog about them. Sadly, that is not the case. So why do so many brands still do fake things or try to pass themselves off as something they aren't? Why are we even having this conversation? One understandable reason companies neglect truthfulness is the upfront cost. Sometimes it's a little more expensive to do things right. Of course, while stock photos are cheaper than paying a photographer in the short term, in the long run, it is going to cost you more. In the short term, it may seem more cost-effective to commission your cousin's girlfriend, Kim, who took a graphic design class once, to create your logo in exchange for pizza. Or it may be faster to copy the content from your competitor's website, change a few words, and launch. In the short term, it is cheaper to go with the easiest idea that comes to mind. But in the long run, it'll cost you. You'll constantly be fighting against the untruth that you created. It will create friction with your actual identity. Finances can't be the main motive for creating a genuine brand identity. But we think there is a deeper reason that many brands try to pretend to be something that they aren't. Many brands badly feel the need to fit in. They look at what everybody else around them is doing and they wonder why they're not doing it. They notice that lobster font is trendy right now, so they use that font. They notice that everybody else is doing a certain type of photography or imagery or pages on their website, and they want the same thing. Maybe it makes them feel legitimate, like a young brand that's trying to feel grown up, or maybe it makes them feel like they're cool again. Other brands are trying to fake it till they make it because they aren't comfortable with who they are and how they are right now. Arbitrary branding is the gateway into superficial branding, our fourth big branding mistake. When you don't believe it really matters what you choose, you begin to copy what you see all around you. That's another pitfall and the subject for another article. I hope that this rogue gallery of branding mistakes has set one thing straight. Authentic branding reflects the truth itself. If you're interested in understanding the truth of what makes you remarkable more clearly, then asking for help isn't a bad place to start. In fact, it's a great place to start. Our team at Resound specializes in helping B2B companies discover, integrate, and fine-tune authentic brand identities that really truly reflect who they are, what they really do, and what they really offer. Whatever stage you're at, we want to help. And that's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but. And of course, don't forget that you are remarkable.